Good evening, patriots, and welcome to another edition of the Douglas Ducote Show. You had many places to be tonight. You chose to be here with me, and for that, I'm forever grateful. I thank you very, very much. Start off tonight with some sad news. A rock and roll icon has passed on to the heavens. Ace Frehley, the original lead guitarist and founding member of the rock band Kiss, he was 74 years old. Ace Frehley died peacefully surrounded by family in Morristown, New Jersey, following a recent fall, according to his agent. Family members said in a devastating statement they are completely devastated and heartbroken, but will cherish his laughter and celebrate the kindness he bestowed upon others. The New York-born entertainer and rock and roll Hall of Famer often experimented with pyrotechnics, making his guitars glow, emit smoke, and shoot rockets from the headstock. Born Paul Daniel Frehley, he grew up in a musical family and began playing guitar at the age of 13 before joining Kiss. He played in local bands around New York City and was a roadie for Jimi Hendrix at the age of 18. I was blessed to see the original band members of Kiss perform back in 1977, again in 1980, and then I have seen the current band in 2018, along with my wife, who attended with us. And Ace Frehley will definitely be missed. He was a true American icon. A federal grand jury indicted alleged Antifa members with terrorism-related charges for a July 4th attack on an ICE facility in Texas. The indictment was issued yesterday and unsealed today. They charge several people, but two of them are Cameron Arnold and Zachary Evans, providing material support for terrorism, attempting to murder federal agents and assisting officers, and discharging firearms during attempted murders. For the first time ever, the FBI has arrested violent extremists and charged these Antifa individuals with material support for terrorism, FBI Director Kash Patel said in a statement. This was a planned and coordinated terrorist attack on the Pearland Detention Center in Alberta, Texas, where armed extremists tried to murder U.S. officers on July 4th. We are executing under President Trump's new authority at record speeds. To date, the FBI has made over 20 arrests tied to this case of related Antifa networks. No one gets to harm law enforcement, not on our watch, Patel added. Attorney General Pam Bondi also held the charges, vowing further prosecution against Antifa members. Arnold and Evans are alleged to have participated in an ambush of federal agents at the ICE detention facility, along with 9 others. Authorities say the suspect used fireworks as a distraction while vandalizing vehicles outside the facility. When police began to respond, the indictment says, Arnold yelled, "Get your rifles." Seconds later, they opened fire on the officials, striking one of the officers in the neck area as the unarmed correctional officers ducked and ran for cover. The wounded officer fell to the ground and was able to return a few shots. Co-conspirator 1 continued to fire additional rounds until his rifle jammed. The attackers then left the scene. The charges come weeks after President Donald Trump signed an executive order seeking to classify Antifa as a terrorist organization. You may recall that it was none other than Kamala Harris herself, as the Vice President of the United States, who set up GoFundMe accounts to raise bail money for Antifa and BLM rioters that were arrested for looting, burning cities, and attacking police officers. And that as Vice President, she was instrumental in making sure that they were released from jail and never held responsible for their horrible actions. Thank God she did not go on to become the President of the United States. In typical liberal Democrat fashion, Representative Alexandria Ocasio-Cortez, Democrat, New York, aka AOC, repeatedly sidestepped questions about whether she believed illegal immigrants should receive taxpayer-funded health care during a CNN town hall that took place last night. Some of you may have seen it. It was pretty damn interesting. AOC, who continues to generate buzz as a possible 2028 presidential contender or a potential primary challenger to Senate Minority Leader Chuck Schumer, appear alongside Bernie Sanders to address questions about ongoing government shutdown. Jill Ireland, identified by CNN as a California Democrat who works in insurance, submitted a pre-taped question. And she asked, do you think taxpayers should be paying for the medical care of immigrants who are in the country illegally? AOC responded by calling out what she described as a common lie from Republicans who accused Democrats of shutting down the government to provide free health care to illegal immigrants. We already know that it's a federal law and federal statute that undocumented people cannot be covered by the Affordable Care Act. They cannot be covered by Medicaid. They cannot be covered by Medicare, period. That is the law of the land. There are plenty of federal laws on the books, she said. The squad member then took aim at Vice President J.D. Vance, who she accused of trafficking his other misconceptions regarding the claim that emergency Medicaid programs provide health care for illegal immigrants, calling it whole cloth storytelling. The truth of the matter is we have a federal law, as it should be, that any person who walks into a hospital in desperate need of medical attention receives medical attention regardless of their insurance status and regardless of who they are, she continued. And I don't know about you, but me as a human being, I don't want to live in a world where if a human being is struck by a car getting rushed into the hospital, that people in the ER surgical room are asking for your insurance information or asking for documents before saving your life. CNN Catherine Collins then asked AOC directly herself if she thinks providing taxpayer-funded health care to illegal immigrants should be the law. I believe personally that health care is a human right. I believe that every person should be able to go to the doctor. But I believe that right now, federal law is the federal law, AOC said, and that absolutely, you know, that a U.S. citizen and people who pay into our programs deserve to be covered by these programs. And I mean, once again, do you believe that the federal laws that we have on the books are appropriate? But if you can choose, do you believe that should be changed? Collins pressed the lawmaker. Pardon, AOC said, as if she did not understand or hear the question. If you could choose, do you believe that the federal law should be changed for illegal aliens to get health care? Collins repeated the question. I don't. I believe in a single-payer healthcare system where if you go in and you need a doctor, you can get medical attention that you need. AOC responded, again, avoiding a direct answer. Oh boy, doesn't she look pretty right there on the left there? And that jackass on the right looks pretty damn ugly to me. But here are the facts, folks, that she refuses to speak truth to. And the Democrats up in Washington, D.C. refuse to admit this as well. Well, immigrants without legal status typically do not qualify for federal benefits. More than a dozen states offer various forms of health coverage to undocumented immigrants. While advocates of such services argue these programs promote public health, reduce long-term costs, and align with moral obligations to care for vulnerable populations, critics contend that such efforts strain budgets and could incentivize illegal immigration. The 14 states that currently provide healthcare coverage to illegal immigrants are California, AOC's own home state, New York, Illinois, Washington, New Jersey, Oregon, Massachusetts, Minnesota, Colorado, Connecticut, Utah, Rhode Island, Maine, and Vermont. Washington, D.C. does as well. California, Minnesota, Massachusetts, Maine, Colorado, Oregon currently provide health care for adults regardless of immigration status. while Illinois and New York provide coverage specifically to older adults over 25 that are illegal aliens. In New Jersey, children under 19 are covered if they're illegal. In Connecticut, coverage is available for children under 15 if they're illegal. But a February post sought to expand coverage to undocumented immigrants under the age of 26 and above 65. In Utah, there's an emergency care coverage available for undocumented migrants and some health care coverage available for children as well. Undocumented migrants that are pregnant or children in Rhode Island are also eligible for free health care. The change to the federal match for the ACA Medicaid population in these states would mean that each state has to cover the cost of Medicaid by a greater amount. In total, it would shift $92 billion in costs from the federal government to the states. But then Trump's big, beautiful bill went into law and removed this process that was allowing illegals to get Medicare and Medicaid. And under the Biden-Harris administration, they granted over 2 million illegal aliens free health care based on what they called lawful present migrants, which included green card holders, refugees, and those that are seeking asylum status but not yet approved. That went away under Trump's big, beautiful bill. And that is what the Democrats are holding our government hostage over, allowing those lawful present immigrants back onto our healthcare system. This is what AOC and the Washington Democrats will not address. They just keep spinning this by saying under federal law, illegals are not allowed in our healthcare system, while not addressing actually how they are in our system or were in our system getting free healthcare. They can spin this all they like. Doesn't matter who they do it with, whether it's CNN, MSNBC, ABC, CBS, any of them. Doesn't matter. The facts are the facts. We do have illegal immigrants, over 2 million of them, that were getting health care benefits based on what Biden and Harris put into place by saying they're legally here in America under their programs. Although they're not legally here, they're here illegally. They're not American citizens, and they do not need to be getting what we, the taxpayer, are paying for. We have enough problems as it is with our system. It's broken beyond belief, the Medicare and Medicaid systems. But no one should have to pay their taxes, especially if you don't live in one of these states that are doing this. Your taxes should not be going to these states through federal funding for these Medicare and Medicaid programs. It shouldn't be happening, but it is happening. Trump did away with it, and now the Democrats want to put it back into play, which is why the government is shut down. Because Republicans and conservatives want American citizens to be first and foremost over anyone else in our country when it comes to qualifying for benefits. The Democrats up in Washington, D.C., and the liberals of our society don't feel that way. Now, that being said, let me just remind everybody out there that where Republicans and conservatives and Trump, for that matter, and his administration stand on immigrants. We believe that America should welcome immigrants with open arms, like we have done for many, many years. The legal way. There is a way to come to America and apply for asylum or to apply for citizenship, to become an American citizen. Then there is an illegal way of doing it, by not coming through the checkpoints, by crossing the Rio Grande or the deserts of Mexico to coming into Texas or New Mexico, and evading law enforcement. Why would you do that? Unless you're trying to hide something. Unless you know that in the vetting process, we're going to find out that you shouldn't be here in the first damn place, which is what we're finding out with these people. 99.9% of them, at least. Republicans and conservatives in the Trump administration believe that we are a melting pot, Americans. Every one of us alive today, if you look and you trace back your history of your family, you will find that we come from other places. None of us were born right here in America as far as our family heritage is concerned, unless you're Indian. That's a different story. Everybody else came from somewhere else to come here. And then they became American citizens and started having families here, which brought you to this place now where you're at as an American citizen born in America. Republicans, conservatives, and the Trump administration are all for migrants coming to America for a better way of life, for safety, for the purpose of raising their families, becoming a productive member of our society, the legal way, not the illegal way. And that's the difference. Like me, many of you are wondering why Democrat governors and mayors in places, especially like Illinois, are pushing back so damn hard on the Trump administration's crackdown on illegals. When the crackdown is on illegals that, at least right now, that committed crimes besides just the crime of coming here illegally. They did something else. Rape, murder, breaking and entering, carjacking, sex trafficking, drugs. They did something else. That's who we're going after currently. Well, an Illinois police officer living in the United States has been arrested by ICE. Why is that, you might ask? Well, because he's here illegally. He's an illegal immigrant, not an American citizen. And illegal immigrants aren't allowed to have guns in America. So Illinois allowed this guy to become a police officer, have a weapon, have a badge, go and graduate a post academy, and become a cop, and he's not an American citizen. Department of Homeland Security and ICE have him in custody. His name is Officer Radul Bogjevic. Illegal immigrant who was working as a sworn police officer in the Hanover Park Police Department in Illinois. He was taken into custody during Operation Midway Blitz, which targets illegal immigrants living in Illinois because of the state's sanctuary policies. Illinois Democrat Governor J.B. Pritzker doesn't just allow violent illegal aliens to terrorize Illinois' communities. He also allows illegal aliens to work as sworn police officers. The officer violated nation's laws and was living illegally in the United States for 10 years. What kind of police department gives criminal illegal aliens badges and guns? It's a felony for illegal aliens in America to even possess firearms. Under President Trump and Secretary Noem, ICE is restoring law and order and putting people like this guy in jail. Criminal illegal aliens have no place in our communities, especially our police force. An August 22nd Facebook post by the police department showed him being congratulated for graduating from the Suburban Law Enforcement Academy. It says he now begins an intensive 15 weeks of field training and evaluation as he continues preparing to serve Hanover Park community, the Post states. Federal authorities said he was in the U.S. on a tourist visa that required him to depart by March 31st, 2015. Over a decade later, he was still illegally in the U.S. As an officer, was approved by the Pension Fund Board of Trustees in January 2025 and eligible to receive a starting salary of $78,955.70. Additional police records indicate his 2025 earnings were, with overtime, $205,707, including $9,276 in FICA Medicare taxes, federal authorities said. Trump administration launched Operation Midway Blitz to honor Kate Abraham, who was killed in a drunk driving hit and run crash caused by criminal illegal alien Julio Bola in Illinois. Prince recently sued the Trump administration to block National Guard action in Illinois as he feuded with Trump over threats to deploy U.S. Immigration and Customs ICE in Chicago. President Trump says he wants to go to war with Chicago, use it, and our people as a training ground, and is sending troops against the wishes of its people in order to push his political agenda, the governor said. No person could be faulted for believing that the U.S. military is already patrolling our streets, he added. It feels that way already. Masked federal agents from ICE and Customs and Border Patrol Protection are on the ground, terrorize our communities with tear gas and rubber bullets. And some are wearing camouflage uniforms could easily be mistaken for military. Oh boy. I'm willing to bet if ICE and Homeland Security dig deeper, they will find many more illegal aliens working in law enforcement all across America in sanctuary cities. Like, I don't know, let's say San Francisco, Portland, Seattle, you name it. And we wonder why Illinois is pushing back so hard. You think maybe they know what we're going to find out that they're doing? Like with this cop? Yeah, things just come out when you look deeper into it, don't they? President Donald Trump sent a strong message to Hamas today. Threatening to go in and kill them if they continue attacks in Gaza. If Hamas continues to kill people in Gaza, which was not in the deal, we will have no choice but to go in and kill them, Trump wrote in a Truth Social post. Thank you for your attention to this matter, he said. The move comes after Hamas was seen on video publicly executing opponents in Gaza City's main square, despite Trump's peace plan. That's right. The people of Gaza and Palestine have had enough of Hamas, and they want them out. You've seen them being interviewed by CNN, by Fox, by MSNBC, by ABC, CBS, NBC. They've all interviewed these people over there saying, we want Hamas out of here. We do not want them here anymore. They're responsible for why this place is now a shithole. Well, now Hamas is going and finding those people and executing them. Hamas fighters were reappearing in the streets and reasserting control, having issued an ultimatum giving Israel collaborators until Sunday to surrender and seek amnesty. Hamas has also failed to uphold its commitment to return all the deceased hostages to Israel, with families describing the days left waiting as torturous. On Thursdays, Fox and Friends, earlier today, Orniga Natora, mother of Israel Defense Force Captain Omer Deferral, said it is devastating to wait for her son's body each day. We came here on Sunday prepared to receive him on Monday, and as the day went by and our only 4 hostages were released and our son wasn't among them, it was devastating, she said. Said her fallen son, a platoon commander, is one of 2 American citizens whose remains have not been returned by Hamas as part of the initial phase of the peace agreement. She said the terror group continues to torment families by withholding any word of future releases. We spend sleepless nights waiting, since those who return to Israel usually arrive after midnight and aren't identified until early morning, she said. Each time we wait and hope, only to learn he's still not among them. And now Hamas says no one else can be freed. And they claim that in some cases they don't even know where they're at, the bodies. Now, I told you last week when all this went down, hostages being released, the deal that Trump made, that it ain't over with. Heard it right here. Heard it come out of my mouth. That we are far from over with when it comes to Hamas. Until every last Hamas fighter is eliminated from planet Earth, they will continue to be a threat towards Western civilization. That is a fact. They're not going to disarm, like which part of the agreement was. They're not going to go away, which is what part of the agreement was. They're not going to allow Israel and America to prop up and put into place people from Palestine to be in a government. They're not going to let that happen. They want to continue to control everything that happens there, which means that the place will never get rebuilt. It's destroyed. Israel has physically destroyed Gaza and most of Palestine. Sadly, many civilians lost their lives because Hamas uses them as human shields. And they set up their military command and control and their ammunition depots and their training in schools, in mosques, in churches, in hospitals, because they're cowards. While I do not want to see boots on the ground in Gaza or Palestine, we currently have over 200 U.S. troops on the ground in Israel, along with other NATO forces, to see that this process of implementation of the agreement went forward and gets done the way both sides said it would. And now Hamas is reneging on their promises. So, sadly, more innocent people are going to be killed because the Trump administration and our NATO forces are going to have to continue this war. They're going to have to wipe them the fuck off planet Earth in order to do away with this parasite known as Hamas. More to come. Let's talk about this gem, shall we? Former House Speaker Nancy Pelosi lost her cool with a reporter on Capitol Hill yesterday, telling her to shut up when she asked about whether she was worried about the new January 6th committee. The lawmaker snapped at a reporter after she asked her why she didn't call in the U.S. National Guard to defend the Capitol building during the Capitol riot on January 6, 2021. Shut up. I did not refuse the National Guard. The president didn't send it, Pelosi said, referring to President Donald Trump. The reporter, Allison Steinberg, asked Pelosi if she had concerns that the committee would find fault with her actions that day. Congresswoman Pelosi, are you at all concerned that the new January 6th committee will find you liable for that day? She asked, referring to the recent announcement of the new GOP-led investigation to the January 6th Capitol riot. And what we already know that are facts is that Donald Trump had asked Pelosi if she would like the National Guard to be activated, and she said no. That is a fact. Then, after silence, Steinberg asked Pelosi's handlers as they led her away from the reporter, who asked one more question: why did you refuse the National Guard on January 6th? Question prompted Pelosi to twirl around and point directly at her. Why are you coming here with Republican talking points as if you're a serious journalist? She asked. As Pelosi walked away, Steinberg replied, the American people want to know. We still have questions. Thank you. House Republicans issued a report back in 2022 accusing Pelosi and other top-ranking Democrat officials of not having accurately prepared for the Capitol for violence on January 6th. The original J6 House committee was informed in 2001, which was put in place by Pelosi, to cover up all the bullshit that they did, and ultimately referred Trump for prosecution under multiple counts over the course of an 18-month investigation. Only 2 Republicans were on the committee, and they were hand-selected by Nancy Pelosi herself because they were anti-Donald Trump: Adam Kistler of Illinois and Liz Cheney of Wyoming, who have both since left Congress because they did not have a snowball's chance in hell of being reelected because of their blatant lies that they did on the committee. The committee held televised hearings in 2022 that received widespread media attention and concluded the riot was the result of Trump's conspiracy to overturn his 2020 election laws. Democrats have accused the newly formed committee and the GOP majority House of trying to rewrite history about the riot, which led to Trump's second impeachment and remains a topic of fierce partisan debate. Steinberg told Fox News Digital that Pelosi's allegations that I was spouting Republican talking points is absurd. I write my own questions, and for her to discredit me is shameful. Now, I already know what the left and Democrats are going to say. Doug, why do you make up shit like this? Nancy Pelosi would never say such a thing. She would never disrespect a reporter the way that Trump does. She would never tell a reporter to shut up. Yeah, you're right. I don't guess she would she? So why don't we listen to her in her own fucking words?
Are you at all concerned that the new January 6th committee will find you liable for that day? Are you at all concerned about the new January 6th committee finding you liable for that day? Why did you refuse the National Guard on January 6th?
Shut up. I did not refuse the National Guard. The president didn't send it. Why are you coming here with Republican talking points as if you're a serious journalist?
The American people want to know. We still have questions. Thank you.
You see, Donald Trump isn't the only one that sends out nasty, mean tweets and says nasty, mean things to reporters, is he? Nancy Drunk Pelosi is guilty of it as well. President Donald Trump today said he will be meeting with Russian President Vladimir Putin in Hungary in the coming weeks. But first, he's meeting with Ukrainian President Zelensky in D.C. tomorrow. In a post on his social media platform, Truth Social, Trump said that a meeting of a higher level advisors led by Secretary of State Marco Rubio will meet next week, though the destination has not yet been confirmed. President Putin and I will then meet in an agreed upon location, Budapest, Hungary, to see if we can bring this war between Russia and Ukraine to an end, he said. President Zelensky and I will be meeting tomorrow in the Oval Office, where we will discuss my conversations with President Putin and much more. I believe great progress was made with today's telephone conversation. He's referring to the conversation that Trump had today with the Russian President Putin. Well, Trump said the pair had a lengthy conversation on U.S.-Russian trade. He did not include any mention of the U.S. arming Ukraine with top-level defenses like Tomahawk missiles, which is a major reason Zelensky is coming to D.C., the issue that allegedly prompted Trump's call with Putin to begin with. Earlier this week, Trump said he would need to speak with Putin to see if he wants to have the Tomahawks going in their direction. According to Tomahawk missiles is a top priority of Zelensky, as the sophisticated weaponry would be able to reach far beyond Moscow and could change Ukraine's ability to hit not only more of Russia's military complex, but its oil industry, which largely funds its war chest. The announcement of the Trump-Putin meeting comes just hours after Russian missiles and drone strikes pounded Ukrainian cities and energy sites in the early hours of Thursday morning. In a post on X, Zelensky said more than 300 drones and 37 missiles, of which a significant number of them ballistic, rained out across the country, hitting not only near the front lines, but the western city of Vinnytsia, and there were many wounded and killed. Recovery efforts are underway as well. Emergency services are working, he said, adding that Russia is also reported to be using double terror tactics by targeting firefighters and energy workers with these drones carrying clustered munitions. This autumn, the Russians used every single day to strike at our energy infrastructure, he said. Russian President Vladimir Putin has turned a deaf ear to everything the world says. So the only language that can still get through to him is the language of pressure through sanctions and pressure through long-range capabilities. Zelensky is traveling to D.C. today to meet with Trump tomorrow, as well as defense and energy officials to discuss how to ramp up the pressure on Putin in an effort to counter his war ambitions in Ukraine. Like more Patriot missiles, we'll be discussing in Friday talks as well. Trump has not confirmed whether he will give Ukraine the Tomahawk missiles, but he has increasingly voiced his frustration that Putin will not stop his war ambitions despite his efforts since re-entering the White House in January. Now, we also know today Trump did share some of his conversation with the Russian president, and the transcript of that conversation was also released. And he actually did say to Putin, "Do you want me to be giving Tomahawk missiles to Ukraine so they can strike deep into your country? Do you want me to do that?" And Putin did not like hearing that, because these Tomahawk missiles have the capability of finishing this war once and for all and eliminating the threat of Russia, with the exception of nuclear weapons, which they continue to make threats of using on a daily basis now. Okay. Are you a liberal or a liberal Democrat that needs more proof that the Democrat leadership in Washington, D.C. does not care about our troops and will place illegals over the troops and the American people? If so, here's all you need to put this question to rest once and for all. Senate Republicans plan to reignite the government funding process was torpedoed by Senate Democrats who blocked a bill that would pay the troops as the federal government entered day 16 of the shutdown. The annual defense appropriation bill was blocked, largely along party lines on Friday, with only a handful of Senate Democrats joining Republicans to advance the measure. While President Trump made a temporary move to ensure that military service members were paid, that funding won't last forever. Trump went to the defense secretary and said, "We will take money from other projects that we were going to use to pay the troops." So this is totally separate from that. The only Senate Democrats to cross the aisle were Senators John Fetterman of Pennsylvania and Catherine Cortez Macio of Nevada, and Jeanne Shaheen of New Hampshire. Lawmakers are now headed home after a short week in Washington, D.C. I think the people in our military deserve to get paid, Fetterman said. That's what my vote is about. Had the bill advanced through the first procedural hurdle, lawmakers could have modified it to include other funding bills, a move that Senate Majority Leader John Terham signaled he planned to make throughout this coming week. However, Senate Minority Leader Chuck Schumer and Senate Democrats are unwilling to support the bill and argued they want a guarantee on exactly which other spending bills would be added on to in the downline. They need unanimous consent to add anything to the defense bill. Schumer said before the vote, they don't have it. Truman and Senate Republicans floated additional spending bills like measures to fund transportation, the Health and Human Services, and Labor Department, Housing and Urban Development, and Commerce, but first need to blast through the procedural hurdle to do so. When asked if lawmakers could find common ground over other appropriations, Senator Mark Kelly, Democrat, Arizona, said it would require some sort of overreaching agreement, and that without one, talking about individual bills won't go anywhere. I just voted no. First of all, it's not a good bill. This is not the way we normally do this. We would normally have an agreement on a process to vote on appropriations bill, not a bill, Kelly said. I think if there was a negotiation and a process, we could do something in a bipartisan way. Republicans coming away from the vote noted that Democrats may invite criticism by voting against the standalone defense bill. You think? If they want to stop the defense bill, I don't think it's very good optics for them, obviously. Other senators echoed Thuen's assessment. These are dangerous times. This is not the time to weaken our defenses. Lindsey Graham, Republican South Carolina, who sits on the Senate Appropriations Committee, said, part of Senate Democrats' resistance to the bill is tied to the overall position against the House passing the continuing resolution bill, the CR, to reopen the government, which they have so far blocked 10 times. Like their agreement of extended Obamacare subsidies, they demand guarantees on what exactly Republicans would attach to the bill, a position that stemmed from an overall lack of trust between the parties that has ripped the partisan divide upon even further this year. We don't have an agreement on anything, Senator Chris Murphy of Democrat Connecticut said. So obviously we can't. They're still not negotiating. Kelly, the senator from Arizona, similarly agreed that there was no bipartisan agreement on what exactly the package would look like. We should be focused on fixing these healthcare premiums and getting the government back open, he said. And, just to bring up one bill without the others is something we typically don't do. Do you think we're fucking stupid? Do you think we don't realize how many times CRs have been passed in America? And how many times Democrats are on record saying there's no reason to shut down the government over this bullshit, pass a CR? Every one of them up in D.C. have said that. And now, because of the big, beautiful bill taking away the ability to give illegal immigrants health care, they jump in there and shut this shit down. They shut down our government. They voted no to keep the government open. The Republicans voted yes. It passed the House. It went to the Senate. Republicans, who have the majority in both houses, said yes to keep the government open on the CR. Then the filibuster happened. But you got to have 60 votes to overcome the filibuster. We don't have 60 senators in the Senate, do we? That means we need some Democrats to come over and vote with us to break the filibuster. And they refuse to do that because illegal immigrants won't get health care. That's all this is about. Just look at what they've been doing for the 4 years under Harris and Biden and continue to do after losing the fucking election. Democrats, you lost in a landslide. You lost the House, the Senate, 1600 Pennsylvania Avenue, the Electoral College, the popular vote, and every damn swing state because the American people rejected your policies, which was illegal immigrants over American citizens. And then you double down on it to include shutting down the government over it. This is stuck on stupid on a whole different level, like we've never seen before. While I don't want to see the government continue to be shut down, I think they're going to get to the point of realizing they don't have a choice but to go ahead and vote with the Republicans to pass the CR. Because I know for a fact, and I'm sure you do too, that their constituents are pissed off when they're finding out the truth behind this. When they're finding out that the Democrats up in Washington, D.C. continuing to say that, oh, illegals can't get health care. It's against federal law. It's a Republican talking point that's made up. It's not true. It's a conspiracy theory. And then we explain to them how the illegal immigrants are getting health care. And then they see it and they realize it. And then, of course, the Democrat Party, the party that I used to belong to, is losing more people leaving their party and switching to Republican or independent than in its entire history. And in the entire history of the Republican Party, more people today are joining the ranks than ever before. And one would think that Schumer and Booker, and Hankum Jeffries, and AOC, and all their fucking clown show up there would get this and see that they can't win on this issue. Everything they ran on last year and were for 4 years failed. It went down in flames. It sunk faster than the Titanic did. And they won't let it go. They just won't. They want to keep pushing it and pushing it and pushing it. Keep at it. You keep doing that. We know where it's going to get you. Same place it got you so far. Nowhere. You're never going to be back in power again. And the longer you Democrats refuse to pass this clean CR, the worse it's going to get for you. Especially if the funding, the monies that the Trump administration has found to, at least right now, pay our military troops and continue the program for women and children, the WIC program, that money can only go so far. If that runs out and our troops no longer get a paycheck and women and children that are on that WIC program can no longer get formula and diapers and things to take care of their babies, Well, that's the final straw for the Democrat Party. I've been telling you for a long time, it's over with. The Democrat Party that I once used to belong to is over with. It is not the party of JFK. That era is long gone. It was hijacked by far left liberal ideology that is stuck on stupid. And, still full of racist bigots, just like they were when they fought against Abraham Lincoln freeing the slaves. Just like when they founded the KKK. Just like when they fought to keep blacks and whites segregated. Just like they propped up Planned Parenthood for the purpose of killing black babies. And then you can continue on today. Just like what they're doing in every single major metropolitan city in the United States of America that is run by Democrats. That's where your Antifa is. That's where your BLM is. That's where your most crime in America is, as far as violent crime, shootings, rapes, murders, illegal aliens committing these crimes as well, in Democrat-run cities. This is a problem. If the Democrats gave two shits about those in those cities, which is, who primarily, where this is all happening? Where did all these illegal aliens get sent to under the Biden-Harris administration? Into the poor black communities, which already had a problem with black youth gunning each other down the streets and become an epidemic. Now they take away what little jobs they had and join in there committing violent crimes. Then the Trump administration comes along and says, we're going to fix this shit. If you Democrat mayors won't allow your police to arrest these motherfuckers and get them off our streets, guess what? We will. And now they're fighting against it. Think about that for a moment. The Democrats in charge in America are fighting against making the streets safer for American citizens. That is the death of the Democrat Party. You had many places to be tonight. You chose to be here with me, and for that, I'm forever grateful. I thank you very, very much. Whatever you're going to be doing this weekend, I hope that you're safe. Hope that you continue to look out for your family and friends, and remember that we are far from out of the woodwork on a lot of different problems in America. We got a long ways to go. The Biden-Harris administration allowed so many illegal immigrants over here, and we already know that well over 1 million gotaways. And we already know from the FBI and Department of Justice under Biden-Harris, which is when we first heard it, Director Wray, Biden's FBI director, told us there are known terrorist cells in this country. There are people from Middle Eastern countries that came into America that we didn't catch that are here waiting to kill you and I. And of course, now the current FBI and DOJ have told us the same thing. That is a problem. That is something we have to constantly be aware of. Bad enough, we have to deal with illegal immigrants that are murderers and rapists and child molesters and sex traffickers, drug traffickers, the black on black crime, the rapes, the murders, all the other shit that goes on. But now we got to worry about terrorists in America. And thankfully, now those that are Antifa are labeled as terrorists and will be held accountable as such. If anything breaks of major importance between now and next Tuesday, I'll either put a video out about it or I'll do a live program. Other than that, I plan on having a nice, pleasant weekend. Probably taking the boat out this weekend if the weather holds up for us. I think it will on Saturday. I do believe it's going to get some rain down here in the South on Sunday, but Saturday looks like a good day for boating for the Ducotes. And so that's probably what the plan will be. Whether you're watching us live on YouTube or Rumble or X, please like and subscribe to the show. Also tell your family and friends about the program. And also check out DouglasDucote.com. And what else? We got the new book coming out soon. Cannot wait to be able to tell you the book is officially out. I've got copies of the book that I had to go through and see if there's anything that was wrong. And we found a few things, and that's why it's taken so long, is they've had to go in and correct these changes before it goes into mass production. But the book, Baton Rouge to Baghdad and Back, the humorous side of military service I lived through, is going to be out really, really soon. And then we'll be going on a book signing tour and traveling around the country. And I hope that I get to meet many of you when I do that at that time. Get to sign your book, shake your hand. Thank you for all your support. And I've already started book number 2. And I'm not going to tell you what that's about yet, but it's real life stuff that this bald-headed guy, old broken down body veteran lived through. And it's going to be just as humorous as this book is, I do believe. And kind of shocking at that, too. So, all right, my friends, as always, please say a prayer for our men and women serving the United States military, our veterans, our law enforcement officers, our first responders, their families, our angel families, our blue and gold star families in our country. May God bless the United States of America. May God bless each and every one of you. And I'll see you back here next Tuesday for another live broadcast. Thank you. God bless you, and good night.